It's about eating according season, because we can often think about what is healthy and what not, if it's better to be vegan or eat meat. But let's look at it a different point of view and think about that maybe in some season it's better eat more meat, and in the other season more carbs. So let's start. We have something like genetic memory. What it means? It means that in the prehistoric times, we didn't have a supermarket, we couldn't buy everything what we want. So we used to eat what we could hunt or what we could find. So it means we had enzymes to digest our food, different in winter and different in the summer. I know it's a little bit different now after hundreds of years of eating carbs and starchy food all year long, and meat as well. Uh, our pancreas, because that's where most of the enzymes uh, are used to more for all kinds of food and all through the year. But still, it's easier to have a certain food for body to digest in winter and, for example, in the summer. Again, it's not for all the people same, depends on each person, but it's just a thing that I heard and I would like to recommend because I totally agree with that. And I tried it, I do it, and works well for me. So, for example, in the winter, we get our energy from animal products, from animal protein. It's a great source of energy in the winter, as well as vegetables. Why is that? Because in prehistoric times, only food they had was to hunt some animal, or they could find underneath the snow still some kind of vegetables, so they could make some kind of salad from that. They had no carbs, no starchy food, no grains, nothing like that. And until today, it's not the best thing to eat during the winter. It's not really the best source of energy in the winter. Carbs and even the sugars from fruits. Only things we can eat all year long from the carbs is rice, preferably the whole grain for the nutritious um, reasons, and oats. These have really simple starch in it. Otherwise, although they are very healthy, things like a buckwheat, millet, they are very starchy, they have aggressive starch, so it's not the perfect food to eat in the winter. That's because in winter we don't really get energy from these carbs. What we feed instead of our body are the candidas and things like that in our body. With the start of the spring, it's good to switch from eating animal products to to more carbs. We can still eat some eggs, but it's better to lower the animal protein and start with the things like sprouts, add more vegetables, and the carbohydrates. We can already start with some fruits as well. If you think about it, most of the foods in all kind of cuisines, they put together kind of like everything. It's good if we have vegetables, because that goes well with everything, doesn't matter what season we have. But most of the foods, they have meat as well as, for example, potatoes, which are one of the highest in the starchy food. It's not so bad if we have a rice and meat, because that's still, that I mean in winter, because it's still easy to digest. But the problem would be in summer the meat, and in winter the potatoes, for example. How are we going to find out that it's not good for us? It's not good for digestion. Very easy. We gonna feel that kind of fermenting in our stomach, and we're gonna feel and smell the methane from the farts. That's because of that we just couldn't digest through our pancreas certain food, carbs in the winter and meat in the summer. These enzymes just cannot handle it, and we're gonna have this beer belly, of course, because when it's fermenting, our belly is gonna get bigger. The September 21, it's the date when we are kind of like going from the summer to fall. So what it means, we're gonna start to add the more meat, for example. We can start to eat these kind of oily nuts and seeds, because in the summer it's better to use these, if you know, these like more dry ones. Now, what is the cancer? It's not really to something to be sick. It's more state of and result of how we treat our body. Because if we ignore for many decades this kind of noises from our belly that just says that I'm not happy what you give me, what kind of combinations you give me, then the results would be yeah, the cancer of some part of the body. Because even it's not coming from nothing. In the meantime, you will get many warnings, but we usually ignore it. We just keep eating what we want. We never stop and think about it for a while. Surprisingly, fruits are not really as good as we suppose. It has kind of dangers too. Fresh juices could be great thing in the summer, and if we really do some hair really exercise, cardio exercise, if we sweat a lot and we need to really get these sugars back. Otherwise, it's just so many sugars concentrated in, for example, 0.2 milliliters. Of course, it's good to have some fruits in the summer, but let's do it moderately. We don't have to eat 10 pieces of fruits a day. 2, 3 is fine, and preferably what we have in our country or around. We don't really need to eat too many tropical fruits if we are, for example, here in Central Europe. Anyways, it's better for vitamins to eat vegetables all year long. We can digest it very well all year long, and it's not it's not aggressive. The problem with the fruits, it has these acids, uh, especially lemon, and these could be kind of aggressive for our body. It can kind of withdraw the calcium from the bones and from the teeth. So a few drops in the water in the summer to refresh ourselves, perfect. Why not? It has a lot of vitamins. It's healthy, but drinking too much of lemon juice in the winter time could be harmful on the long run. We as a human beings, we are the only one who fried or bake or grill or cook. And from the prehistoric times, we have enzymes to digest raw food. Because after the cooking or frying or baking, grilling, whatever, the protein in an animal product kind of like a shrink. So then it means it's harder for digestion. In a worst case, for example, the well done steak takes amazing 80% of our overall energy, but not the energy from the food itself, but energy from our reservoir. So that caused that after this kind of food, we are not able to do anything else than just go to lay down. That's what we have these rest 20% for. Because all the blood is in the stomach trying to digest this really hard food to digest, and we don't have a blood in our brain, and we don't have a oxygen, so that causes the sleepiness, laziness, and that's not what we want if we need to continue working, for example. Let's take an example. You take a tiger, lion, and you take a pig. What a lion eats? Just fresh, raw meat. And he's full of muscles, he's full of energy, he's fast. And the pig eats potatoes, all bread, all these carbs, a lot of starch, and is slow and is big and is fat. So that's what happens if we eat so many of these carbs, especially in winter. Our belly is gonna grow because of this fermentating process, and we're not gonna have energy from that, like we can in the summer when we can digest it. So again, carbs, sugars from fruit, great source of energy in summer. In winter, great source of energy, animal products, proteins, and fats. Because if we eat the carbs and sugars in the winter, we only feed candida. One of the worst things are soy and corn. Unless you see on the label it's not GMO, you can be sure it is GMO. What it means? What happens during the process that the starchy kind of core, it's gonna enlarge. So what happens is that the starch is very high and very aggressive, which is very hard for the pancreas for digestion. So soy and corn, very limited. The worst thing is the modified soy or corn syrup or corn or soy oil. If you see this on the label, it's better to really avoid it. Another terrible thing, among others, are these kind of fruit teas, which are really nice. In winter, it gives us the feeling of warm and coziness, but they use so many additives and the artificial colors, especially these with like really red color. We have to believe that it's gonna dilute in the water in our body, and we're gonna get rid of it uh, through the pee. Otherwise, it's gonna stuck in the body, and the body just doesn't have the enzymes to work with these artificial things. As the thing of last decades, we don't have the enzymes to deal with it. What is surprisingly kind of good is beer, especially if you are in a country like I am in Czech Republic, where the beer is really quality. It's a good drink. It's almost like a yacht drink because it doesn't have any preservatives. And during the fermentation, it got a lot of vitamins like a C, all of these B vitamins. Problem with a non-alcoholic beer is that it cannot really ferment, and that means it doesn't have the good B vitamins. Another really aggressive thing for our body and digestion is to have, for example, this cold beer in the summer after some warm, heavy lunch, because these imbalances of the temperature, it's really shocking for the body, and that's not good either. So after a warm meal, it's actually better to have a warm, just a glass of water. It sounds really stupid, irrational. Why do you drink something warm in a hot summer day? But it's actually better for digestion. If you want to have these iced cold beer or lemonade or whatever, better to have between the meals, like 1 hour before the meal, not right after a warm meal. That's pretty much everything. I hope it gave you different view on how to combine foods, and when I have something new, I'll let you know and I'll make another video. Have a great day. See ya.